This story has been told for 3,000 years, echoing through the ages like the relentless tide, a tale of a hero's journey home, beset by gods and monsters. In the Age of Heroes, when the Greek pantheon ruled from the resplendent heights of Mount Olympus, the gods were both revered and feared. They were the unseen hands that shaped the destinies of mortals, their whims and wraths as capricious as the weather. The air was thick with the scent of burning incense and the hum of prayers, as supplicants sought favor from the divine. Zeus, the thunderous king, ruled with an iron fist and a wandering eye. His voice was the rumble of distant storms, his lightning bolts the fiery wrath of a jealous husband. His palace on Olympus was a golden fortress, its halls filled with the laughter of his many lovers, and the sullen glances of his betrayed wife. Hera, Athena, his favorite daughter, was the embodiment of wisdom and strategic warfare. She was the silent guardian of heroes, her presence a cool, calming breeze in the heat of battle. Her eyes were like the distant stars, shining with ancient knowledge, and her touch could turn the tide of war. Poseidon, god of the sea, was a wrathful deity, his temper as stormy as the waves he controlled. His trident could shake the very foundations of the earth, and his voice was the roar of the ocean's fury. He dwelt in a glittering palace beneath the waves, surrounded by the songs of sirens and the whispers of drowned sailors. Hermes, the swift messenger, darted between the realms, his caduceus glowing in the twilight like a fallen star. His sandals were winged, and his breath was the wind that rustled the leaves, carrying whispers and secrets from one ear to another. This is the tale of Odysseus, the cunning king of Ithaca, whose fate would intertwine with these divine beings in a dance of tragedy and triumph. His journey would take him across treacherous seas and through the realms of the gods, facing trials that would test the limits of his courage, his wit, and his endurance. For Odysseus, the path home would be a labyrinth of dangers, each step a gamble with the fickle gods who watched from their celestial throne. Yet, amidst the storms and the monsters, the sirens' songs and the gods' deceits, there was a glimmer of hope, a promise of home and hearth, of the love that awaited him in the distant shores of Ithaca. But the gods, as ever, had other plans, and Odysseus' journey would be a testament to his cunning, his resilience, and his unyielding spirit in the face of divine wrath. In the resplendent halls of Ithaca, where the sun-kissed walls glowed with the warmth of 1,000 hearth fires, King Odysseus, son of Laertes and Anticlea, ruled with a blend of wisdom and cunning that was as legendary as the towering olive tree that stood sentinel over his kingdom. His palace, a marvel of marble and gold, stood tall and proud, a beacon of prosperity and justice that drew the admiration of neighboring kingdoms and the envy of distant lands. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers from the royal gardens and the distant hum of the sea, a constant reminder of Ithaca's maritime might. Odysseus, known far and wide for his intellect and his ability to outmaneuver even the gods themselves, moved through his halls with an easy grace that belied his formidable strength. His eyes, as deep and blue as the Aegean, held a spark of mischief and a depth of wisdom that spoke of countless tales and adventures yet to be told. His laughter echoed through the corridors, a warm and infectious sound that could dispel the darkest of shadows. Around him, his courtiers and advisors moved with a sense of purpose and loyalty, for they knew that under Odysseus' rule, Ithaca flourished. His wife, Penelope, was the embodiment of loyalty and grace, her presence a soothing balm to the tumultuous world outside. Her eyes held the same depth of wisdom as Odysseus, and her smile could light up the darkest of rooms. Together, they ruled with a harmony that was as beautiful as it was rare. Their son, Telemachus, showed early signs of his father's brilliance, his curiosity and intelligence shining through even in his youngest years. The prince's laughter was a joyous sound, a testament to the love and happiness that filled their home. Yet, even in this world of warmth and love, shadows lingered. Odysseus's pride and cunning, while gifts from the gods, were also his greatest flaws. They led him to underestimate the power of the divine, to believe that his wit and strength could overcome any obstacle. This hubris was a whisper in the wind, a subtle darkness that threatened to overshadow the light of his reign. The gods, ever watchful and ever jealous, took note of Odysseus's arrogance, and the stage was set for a struggle that would test the limits of his cunning and his courage. The scent of the sea grew stronger, a reminder of the adventures that lay beyond the shores of Ithaca. The wind picked up, carrying with it the faintest hint of a storm, a foreboding whisper of the trials that awaited Odysseus and his crew. crew. But for now, in the resplendent halls of Ithaca, the warmth of love and the light of wisdom held sway, a beacon of hope in the face of the darkness to come. The Trojan War had raged for 10 long years, the air thick with the acrid smoke of burning siege engines and the coppery scent of spilled blood. The once proud city of Troy lay in ruins, its towering walls breached by the cunning trickery of Odysseus and his allies. The Greek camp echoed with the triumphant shouts of victory, but amidst the celebration, a dark cloud loomed over Odysseus, king of Ithaca. His heart pounded in his chest like a drum beat of foreboding. The memory of his encounter with the Cyclops Polyphemus was fresh in his mind. The monster's roar of agony still echoed in his ears, and the sight of the giant's blood-matted fur and the milky white ooze from his blinded eye haunted his dreams. Polyphemus was the son of Poseidon, the earth-shaking god of the sea, and Odysseus knew that his prideful act of defiance would not go unpunished. The god of the sea, enraged by this affront to his son, had vowed to make Odysseus' journey home a tormented one. Poseidon's wrath was a force to be reckoned with, a tempest that could swallow ships whole and dash them against the unforgiving rock. The very thought sent a shiver down Odysseus' spine, and he couldn't help but feel a twinge of regret for his hubris. But it was too late for second thoughts. The die was cast, and the gods had taken notice. As the heroes set sail from Troy, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the Aegean Sea. The sparkling waters, once a promise of home, now seemed to hide unseen dangers beneath their surface. The crew, weary from war, looked to their king for guidance, but Odysseus could only offer a grim determination. Little did they know that their homecoming would be a decade-long odyssey, fraught with peril and divine wrath. The spark had been lit, and the flames of fate were about to consume them all. The wind filled the sails, and the ship sliced through the water, carrying Odysseus and his men farther from the familiar shores of Troy. Each stroke of the oars seemed to echo the ticking of an unseen clock, counting down to the trials that lay ahead. The stars above, once a comforting guide, now felt like the watchful eyes of the gods, judging their every move. The journey home had begun, and with it, the unraveling of Odysseus' fate. The first trial descended upon Odysseus and his crew with swift and brutal ferocity. The once open sea had narrowed into a labyrinth of treacherous currents and uncharted waters, leading them to the forbidding shores of the Island of the Cyclops. The air was thick and heavy, choked with the putrid stench of rotting flesh and the acrid scent of sulfur. The echo of monstrous roars reverberated through the island, sending shivers down the spines of the weary sailors. The sun beat down mercilessly, casting an eerie glow over the desolate landscape, where twisted trees and barren rocks stood as silent sentinels. Polyphemus, the one-eyed giant and son of Poseidon, loomed over them like a towering barrier to their escape. His cave, a gaping maw of darkness, yawned wide and menacing, swallowing their men one by one into its inky depths. The cries of their comrades echoed hauntingly from within, a chilling reminder of the horror that awaited. Odysseus stood at the cave's entrance, his heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. The taste of fear was bitter in his mouth, but he steeled himself, his mind racing with the cunning that had earned him his epithet. He turned to his men, their faces pale but determined. "We must outsmart the beast," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the distant rumbling of the sea. "Bring me the strongest wine from our stores. We will offer it to Polyphemus, and may the gods grant that it dulls his senses." As night fell, the cave was filled with the grotesque sounds of Polyphemus feasting on the remains of Odysseus's crew. The wine, sweet and intoxicating, was passed to the giant, who drank deeply, his eyes rolling back in pleasure. The cave grew quiet, save for the heavy breathing of the slumbering beast. Odysseus, his heart still pounding, signaled to his men. With stealth and cunning, they heated a massive stake over the embers of the cave's fire until it glowed red-hot. The heat seared Odysseus's skin, but he gritted his teeth, his eyes fixed on the sleeping Cyclops. In a swift and daring move, they drove the stake into Polyphemus's single eye, the sizzling sound of burning flesh filling the air. The giant awoke with a deafening roar, his hands flailing wildly in pain and rage. Blind and enraged, he began to feel his way around the cave, his massive hands groping for the intruders. Odysseus and his remaining crew, hearts pounding, waited for the perfect moment. As Polyphemus opened the cave's entrance to let his sheep out to graze, they clung to the undersides of the woolly beasts, their hearts pounding in time with the rumbling of the awakened sea god's wrath. As they escaped, the cries of the blinded Cyclops echoed behind them, a chilling reminder of the price they had paid and the wrath they had awakened. But Odysseus had proven his mettle in the face of the monster, his cunning and courage shining like a beacon in the dark. The sea stretched out before them, vast and unforgiving, but they sailed on, driven by the hope of home and the knowledge that they had faced the first of many trials and emerged victorious. In the vast and mysterious expanse of the wine-dark sea, where the waters whispered ancient secrets to the restless winds, Odysseus and his weary crew found themselves adrift and desperate. The sun beat down mercilessly, casting a shimmering, blinding glare off the endless waves, while the salt spray stung their eyes and chapped their skin. The air was thick with the scent of brine and the faint, underlying stench of decay from the rotting remnants of their provisions. The once proud ship creaked and groaned, its timbers weary from the endless journey and the relentless assault of the waves. In this forsaken place, hope seemed but a distant memory, a fading echo from a time long past. Yet it was here, amidst the desolation, that the goddess Athena chose to make her presence known. Descending from the lofty heights of Mount Olympus, her form shimmered like the first light of dawn, cutting through the gloom like a beacon of hope. The sky seemed to brighten around her, the clouds parting to reveal a slice of cerulean blue, as if the very heavens welcomed her descent. She appeared to Odysseus in a dream, her voice like the soft rustling of leaves, the gentle whisper of wisdom carried on the breeze. "Odysseus," she murmured, her eyes reflecting the depths of the cosmos, "your journey will be long and fraught with peril. The sea will test you, the monsters will challenge you, and the gods themselves will conspire against you. But know this, I am..." The hero's heart swelled with renewed strength, her words igniting a fire within his chest. He could feel the power of her presence, like the warmth of the sun after a long, cold night. Her voice wrapped around him like a comforting embrace, chasing away the shadows of despair that had threatened to consume him. "My wisdom will be your compass," she continued, her voice steady and sure. "My shield will protect you from the darkest storms. Together, we shall face the trials that lie ahead. But remember, Odysseus, even the cunning must yield to the will of the gods. Hubris is a poison that can turn the sweetest victory into bitter defeat." With Athena's blessing, Odysseus felt a renewed vigor course through his veins. His crew, though weary and battered, found solace in the knowledge that the goddess of wisdom stood by their side. The bond between hero and deity was forged in that moment, a beacon of light in the stormy sea, a promise of hope amidst the despair. The air seemed to shimmer with the power of their alliance, the very winds whispering tales of the trials they would face and the victories they would claim. The journey home was far from over, but with Athena's guidance, Odysseus knew that they would face whatever challenges lay ahead with unyielding courage and unshakable resolve. The wine-dark sea stretched out before them, a vast and treacherous expanse, but within the heart of the cunning hero, a flame burned brightly, a testament to the power of hope and the unbreakable bond between a hero and his divine ally. As Odysseus and his weary crew sailed further into the uncharted waters, the sky darkened and an eerie stillness fell over the sea. The wind, once their relentless companion, now whispered through the rigging like a mournful dirge. The air grew thick with an otherworldly scent, a mix of sweet flowers and rotting flesh, as if the very breeze carried the essence of life and death intertwined. The men exchanged uneasy glances, their hearts pounding with a primal fear that gnawed at the edges of their consciousness. In the distance, a faint melody began to waft through the air, a haunting symphony that seemed to resonate within the very souls of the sailors. The enchanted Isle of the Sirens loomed before them, shrouded in a mist that clung to the shore like a spectral shroud. The song grew louder, each note a delicate thread that woven into the fabric of their desires, promising joy and fulfillment beyond the bounds of mortal imagination. Odysseus's heart swelled with a mixture of dread and longing, for he knew the true nature of the siren's allure. The Sirens Song was a siren call to death, a seductive lure that had claimed the lives of countless sailors. Odysseus, his voice hoarse with urgency, ordered his men to plug their ears with beeswax, a desperate measure to shield them from the enchanting tune. Eurylochus, his loyal ally, moved swiftly among the crew, ensuring that each man was protected from the deadly lively melody. Odysseus himself, bound securely to the mast with thick ropes, listened to the enchanting song, his heart aching with a longing that bordered on madness. The music wrapped around him like a lover's embrace, whispering secrets of love and glory, of home and hearth, all the things he had been denied for so long. The temptation was overwhelming, a relentless tide that threatened to drown his resolve. Odysseus's hands clenched the ropes that held him, his knuckles white with strain. He could feel the song's power, a force that sought to shatter his will and plunge him into the abyss of his deepest desires. But he resisted, his spirit unyielding, his mind focused on the path ahead. The ship, guided by the steadfast hands of his crew, sailed past the Sirens, the enchanted isle fading into the distance. As they left the danger behind, the crew removed the beeswax from their ears, their eyes wide with a mixture of relief and lingering fear. Odysseus, finally freed from his bindings, stood at the prow, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The memory of the forbidden song lingered, a haunting reminder of the dangers that lay ahead and the price of their long journey home. The sea stretched out before them, a vast and unforgiving expanse, but Odysseus's heart was steadfast. He would face whatever trials came next, for he was Odysseus, the cunning, and his destiny was to return to Ithaca, no matter the cost. In the inky depths of the night, Odysseus and his remaining crew navigated the treacherous waters, their hearts heavy with the trials they had already faced. The sea, under the wrathful gaze of Poseidon, seemed to conspire against them, its waves crashing with a fury that threatened to shatter their ship. Their journey took them to the darkest corners of the earth, where the sun's rays could not pierce the gloom. Here, in the heart of the underworld, they sought the counsel of the dead, for only the spirits of the departed could guide them through the labyrinth of their fate. Odysseus, with a mixture of fear and determination, descended into the depth, his soul heavy with the weight of his actions. The air grew colder, the silence more profound, as he ventured deeper into the realm of Hades. Now, the shadows danced around him, whispers of the departed echoing through the void. Here, in the lowest point of his journey, Odysseus faced the specter of his own mortality, his cunning and pride tested to their limits. In the resplendent halls of the Island of Circe, adorned with opulent tapestries and filled with the sweet scent of exotic blooms, Odysseus had found an unexpected solace and companionship. The enchantress's magic had transformed his crew into swine, their human forms replaced by bristled backs and snouts that rooted in the earth. Yet, within the confines of Circe's palace, Odysseus's spirit was unchained, his laughter echoing through the marble corridors as he indulged in the pleasures of the island. The tinkling of golden chimes and the murmur of distant waves lulled him into a false sense of security, the urgency of his quest to return home fading like a distant memory. The days blurred into weeks, and the golden light of Circe's island bathed everything in a warm, seductive glow. Odysseus's skin took on a golden hue, and his muscles relaxed, the tension of his long journey easing away. He reveled in the soft touch of Circe's hands, her voice a melody that soothed his weary soul. The island's lush gardens, bursting with vibrant flowers and fruit-laden trees, seemed to whisper secrets of eternal youth and happiness. But as the enchantments of Circe's island took hold, Odysseus began to forget the true cost of his indulgence. Meanwhile, his men, once loyal and steadfast, grew restless. Their hearts, untouched by Circe's magic, ached with a longing for home. They missed the salt spray of the open sea, the camaraderie of their shared struggles, and the familiar sights and sounds of Ithaca. Eurylochus, the most vocal among them, saw this betrayal of their purpose and sought to rally the others to his cause. His eyes burned with a fierce determination as he moved among the men, whispering words of rebellion. The wind howled outside, as if echoing their restless spirits, tossing the trees and whispering through the windows, carrying with it the faint, mocking laughter of the sea. With a heavy heart, Odysseus was forced to choose between the love of Circe and the loyalty of his men. Her enchantments had woven a web around him, binding him to her with threads of desire and comfort. But the pleading eyes of his crew, the memories of their shared trials, and the distant call of Ithaca tugged at his heartstrings. His hubris had blinded him to the consequences of his actions, and now the myth turned dark. The ally who had guided him through the perils of the sea was lost, her enchantments fading like a dream. The sunlight filtering through the windows seemed to mock him, casting long, accusing casting shadows across the once welcoming halls. The betrayal cut deep, a wound that would fester and poison his journey home. The sweet scent of Circe's island now seemed cloying, the beauty of her halls tainted by the knowledge of his own weakness. As he prepared to leave, the island's enchantments began to unravel, revealing the stark truth of his predicament. The once lush gardens withered before his eyes, the vibrant flowers turning to dust, and the golden light dimmed, casting the island in a pall of gloom. The betrayal was complete, and Odysseus the cunning was left to face the consequences of his pride and the wrath of the gods. The climactic battle was at hand, a confrontation that would test the limits of Odysseus' cunning and bravery. The air was thick with the scent of salt water and the acrid tang of fear. The sea churned with divine fury as Poseidon, god of the sea, ascended from the depths, his trident glowing with an otherworldly light that cast eerie shadows across the churning waves. The skies darkened, thunder roaring like the battle cry of a titan, echoing through the clouds and shaking the very foundations of the mortal world. Odysseus, standing defiant on the deck of his ship, could feel the deck trembling beneath his feet. The planks creaked and groaned, as if the ship itself was alive and terrified. He knew that this was the moment of truth, the crucible that would forge his fate. The weight of his journey, the loss of his crew, and the prolonged absence from his family pressed heavily on his shoulders. With Athena's guidance whispering in his mind, Odysseus navigated the treacherous waters between Scylla and Charybdis, the monstrous sea creatures that guarded the straits. The battle was a dance of death, each move calculated, each strike precise. The sea boiled with the fury of the gods, waves crashing against the ship, threatening to consume them all. The spray stung Odysseus' eyes, but he blinked it away, his gaze fixed on the horizon, searching for any advantage. The ship groaned and listed, fighting against the currents that seemed to twist and turn with malevolent intent. The crew, though weary and frightened, followed Odysseus' commands with unyielding loyalty. Their oars dipped in and out of the water in a rhythmic, desperate struggle against the relentless sea. The battle raged on, a testament to the mythic scale of their struggle. The heavens themselves seemed to react to the epic confrontation, lightning striking the water around them, illuminating the chaos in stark, blinding flashes. The air was filled with the cries of the crew, the howls of the monsters, and the thunderous roar of Poseidon's wrath. Odysseus' heart pounded like a war drum in his chest, each beat a reminder of his mission and the love that awaited him back in Ithaca. Despite the overwhelming odds, Odysseus fought on with unyielding determination. His muscles ached, and his hands were slick with sweat and salt water, but he gripped the helm tightly, steering his ship through the chaos. The battle was not just a test of his physical strength, but also of his resolve and his faith in the gods who supported him. He could feel Athena's presence, her wisdom guiding his every move, her strength lending him courage. The sea raged on, but Odysseus stood firm, a beacon of hope amidst the storm, determined to return home to his beloved Ithaca, to Penelope and Telemachus, no matter the cost. The battle was far from over, but Odysseus knew that as long as he had Athena's favor and his own indomitable spirit, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The heavens reacted with a fury that shook the very foundations of the earth. Thunder clapped like the breaking of 1,000 heavens, lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the dark clouds with an eerie glow. The sea churned, waves crashing against the shore, with a force that threatened to engulf all in their path. The gods, in their divine wrath, punished the mortals who dared to defy them. Earthquakes shook the land, mountains crumbled, and rivers flowed with blood. The myth earned its scale, a testament to the cruelty and power of the divine. Oh no! The heavens themselves seemed to weep, the rain falling like tears from the eyes of the gods. Transformations occurred, creatures of myth and legend appearing in the chaos, their forms shifting and changing with the whims of the divine. The world was in turmoil, a reflection of the inner turmoil that Odysseus and his crew had endured. The journey was far from over, but the gods had made their presence known, a stark reminder of the power that lay beyond the mortal realm. In the throes of a tempest that seemed to tear at the very fabric of reality, Odysseus stood alone on the deck of his battered ship. The once vibrant vessel was now a skeletal remnant, its timbers timbers groaning under the relentless assault of the sea. The waves crashed against the hull with a ferocity that echoed the wrath of Poseidon himself, each foaming crest a stark reminder of the god's unyielding fury. The air was thick with the scent of salt water and the acrid tang of fear, the wind howling through the rigging like a chorus of tormented souls. The god of the sea demanded a sacrifice, a price for the hubris that had lured Odysseus to blind his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus. The weight of that decision pressed down on Odysseus like an invisible shroud, choking the breath from his lungs. He looked out at the storm-tossed waters, the churning abyss reflecting the turmoil within his heart. The sea, once his ally, now seemed a malevolent force, eager to claim him and his crew as its own. His men, his loyal companions, who had endured countless trials by his side, would have to be the offering. The thought tore at his soul, but he knew the cost of defying the divine. One by one, they were taken by the sea, their cries for mercy drowned out by the howling wind. Each face that disappeared into the churning waters was a memory etched in pain, a testament to their shared struggles and triumphs. Eurylochus, his steadfast ally, was among the first to go, his strong arms flailing futilely against the relentless tide. Odysseus could only watch in helpless agony as his men were consumed by the sea, their sacrifices a bitter offering to the gods. The storm raged on, a symphony of destruction that seemed to mock Odysseus' futile struggles. Lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the chaos in brief, stark flashes. The ship creaked and groaned, its wooden bones straining against the onslaught. Odysseus, bound by his fate, could only stand there, a silent sentinel amidst the carnage. His hands clenched the railing, knuckles white with tension, as he watched the sea claim his men. Their sacrifices would not go unnoticed by the gods, but it was a bitter victory, a stark testament to the cruelty of the divine order. The sea, once a path home, now seemed an insurmountable barrier, a cruel jest played by the capricious gods. Odysseus' heart ached with the weight of his decision, but he knew that this was the price of his cunning and pride. The storm, a manifestation of Poseidon's wrath, raged on, a grim reminder of the consequences of defying the gods. As the last of his crew was swallowed by the churning waters, Odysseus stood alone, a solitary figure against the tempest, his heart heavy with the burden of his fate. In the quiet aftermath of the storm, Odysseus found himself adrift, his ship in ruins and his crew lost to the sea. The sun rose over the horizon, casting a golden glow on the water, a stark contrast to the darkness that had consumed him. As he drifted, he felt a profound change within him. The trials he had endured, the sacrifices he had made, had transformed him. He was no longer the man who had set sail from Ithaca years ago. No. His body was weary, his spirit broken, but his mind was sharp, honed by the fires of adversity. He had become a different man, one who understood the true nature of the world and the gods who ruled it. Yet this transformation came at a price. He was forever marked by his journey, a solitary figure forever bound to the sea, his fate intertwined with the whims of the gods. He was Odysseus, the cunning, but he was also a shadow of his former self, a man forever changed by the hand of fate. After what felt like an eternity adrift on the wine-dark sea, Odysseus finally sighted the familiar shores of Ithaca. The sight filled him with a tumult of emotions, joy that his long, arduous journey might finally be at an end, and trepidation at the unknown trials that still lay ahead. The sun dipped low, casting a golden glow over the coastline, a stark contrast to the turmoil within him. The salty air filled his lungs, carrying with it the faint scent of home, a mix of cypress and distant olive groves. As his ship neared the shore, the reality of his homeland struck him like a physical blow. The once proud kingdom was a shadow of its former glory. The fields lay fallow, the roads unkempt, and the homes of his people showed signs of neglect and despair. The palace, his palace, was a den of iniquity. Suitors, fat and lazy, lounged about, feasting on his stores and reveling in his absence. Their laughter echoed through the halls, a mockery of the joy that should have filled the air. His wife, Penelope, was besieged by their advances, her loyalty a solitary beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. She was a captive in her own home, her grace and resilience the only things keeping the kingdom from descending into utter chaos. Odysseus, disguised as a beggar, entered his own home, unrecognized by those who had once known him. The sight that greeted him was a bitter pill to swallow. The grand halls were filled with the stench of wine and unwashed bodies. The servants, once proud and dignified, moved about with slumped shoulders and downcast eyes. The decay, the disrespect, disrespect, the sheer cruelty that had taken root in his absence, made his heart ache with a profound sadness. He saw the faded tapestries, the chipped marble, and the dust that settled like a shroud over everything. His home, his kingdom, had been desecrated, yet amidst the despair, a fiery determination ignited within him. He would reclaim his kingdom, his wife, his son. He would restore the honor of Ithaca, no matter the cost. The journey had been long and fraught with peril, but Odysseus was a man tempered by the fires of adversity. He had faced the Cyclops, the Sirens, and the wrath of Poseidon himself. He had navigated treacherous seas and endured the allure of enchanting creatures. He had lost many of his crew and had been separated from his family for what felt like an eternity. But he had survived, and he would not falter now. With a renewed spirit, Odysseus set his plan in motion, ready to face the final trials that awaited him on the shores of his beloved Ithaca. The cost of Odysseus' journey was immense, a tally of lives and dreams shattered by the whims of the gods, etched into the very fabric of his soul. The silence of the open sea echoed with the absent laughter and voices of his crew, loyal and steadfast, who were lost to the depths, their spirits forever bound to the waves. The salt water stung his eyes as he remembered their faces, each one a testament to the cruelty of the gods who toyed with mortal lives. The sun cast a faint ethereal glow over the horizon, a stark contrast to the darkness that had consumed his heart. The faint light seemed to mock him, highlighting the emptiness that had become his constant companion. Eurylochus, his trusted companion, had met his end at the hands of the Laestrygonians, a brutal and swift demise that left Odysseus with a hollow ache. He could still see the cannibal's jaws snapping, the crimson blood staining the sand, and the haunting echo of Eurylochus's final scream. Elpenor, the young and impetuous, had fallen from Circe's roof in a drunken stupor, his spirit wandering the underworld, lost and alone. The memory of his friend's lifeless body crashing to the ground was a grim reminder of the fragility of life. The Lotus Eaters, lulled into a state of eternal bliss, had forsaken their homes and families, their eyes glazed over with a vacant happiness that was both enviable and tragic. Their gardens of lotus flowers, once a symbol of peace, now stood as a monument to the seduction of oblivion. The Cyclops, blinded by Odysseus' cunning, had cursed him to a life of wandering, his roars of agony still ringing in Odysseus' ears. The sea monster's wrath was a constant presence, a dark cloud that followed him wherever he went. And Penelope, his faithful wife, had endured years of torment, besieged by suitors who sought to claim her hand and his kingdom. The weight of her husband's absence had aged her beyond her years, her once vibrant spirit dulled by the endless wait. The distant tolling of bells seemed to echo her despair, a mournful dirge that spoke of the pain and longing that had become her daily companions. The gods had demanded their due, and the price was high. They had taken his crew, his friends, and his peace of mind, leaving him with nothing but the bitter taste of loss. Yet, in the end, it was Odysseus who bore the brunt of their cruelty, a man forever changed by the hand of fate. His body was scarred, his mind weary, and his heart heavy with the burden of his journey. The sea, once his ally, had become his enemy, a treacherous path that seemed to stretch on endlessly. But despite the god's wrath and the trials he had endured, Odysseus pressed on, driven by the faint hope of returning home to Ithaca, to Penelope, and to the life he had once known. The journey was far from over, but he refused to yield to the darkness that sought to consume him. For in the depths of his despair, there was still a spark of defiance, a stubborn resolve that burned brightly, guiding him through the stormy seas and towards the distant shore of his homeland. The gods, in their celestial abode on Mount Olympus, bore witness to the trials of Odysseus, their divine hearts stirred with a mix of admiration and retribution. Zeus, the trickster king, saw in Odysseus a reflection of his own cunning. He decreed that a new constellation be forged in the night sky, a symbol of the hero's enduring journey. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, watched with a maternal gaze, her favor for Odysseus unyielding. She whispered to the winds, ensuring that his tale would echo through the ages, a testament to human resilience. Poseidon, the wrathful god of the sea, acknowledged the sacrifice made by Odysseus and his crew due. In his fury, he transformed the waters around the shores of Ithaca, creating treacherous currents and hidden reefs, a perpetual reminder of his son's blinding. Hermes, the messenger god, carried the stories of Odysseus's adventures to the far corners of the world, weaving them into the fabric of mortal lore. The seasons shifted, a new rhythm born from the hero's Odyssey. Spring Spring bloomed with the hope of return. Summer scorched with the trials endured. Autumn mourned the losses, and winter reflected the quiet endurance of the soul. The mythic world transformed, bearing the indelible mark of Odysseus's journey. A new balance was struck, a harmony born from the clash of divine wills and mortal fate. The tale of Odysseus, the cunning hero, traversed the sands of time, carried by the voices of storytellers, echoing through the ages like the relentless heartbeat of history. From the oral traditions of ancient Greece, it echoed through the halls of Homer's epics, where the bard's resonant voice painted vivid scenes of gods and monsters. In the dimly lit agoras, under the starlit night, the air thick with the scent of olives and the sea, the stories of Odysseus captivated audiences. The smell of freshly baked bread and the distant bleating of goats blended with the mesmerizing cadence of Homer's words, weaving a tapestry of adventure and heroism that seeped into the souls of listeners. Scribes, hunched over in the flickering light of oil lamps, meticulously etched the story onto stone tablets, preserving it for generations to come. Their quills scratched against parchment, the sound a rhythmic accompaniment to the tales of Odysseus's journey home. In the shadows of ancient libraries, the scent of aged papyrus and ink filled the air as scholars pored over the texts, deciphering the wisdom and lessons embedded within the myth. In the opulent halls of Renaissance Italy, artists like Sandro Botticelli and Titian immortalized Odysseus in their painting. The rich hues of their masterpieces captured the essence of his struggle and triumph, the vibrant colors reflecting the glory and the despair of his Odyssey. The studios were filled with the aroma of oils and turpentine, the brushstrokes dancing across canvas, bringing Odysseus's epic to life. Each stroke was a testament to the enduring power of human ingenuity and the timeless allure of storytelling. The tale resonated differently with each generation. For the ancient Greeks, it was a tale of endurance and cunning in the face of insurmountable odds, a reflection of their own battles against the elements and the gods. The rugged landscapes of Greece, with their towering mountains and tempestuous seas, mirrored the challenges Odysseus faced, making his journey a parable of their own resilience. For the Romans, it was a story of loyalty and the consequences of divine wrath, a cautionary tale of the price of hubris and the importance of piety. The grandeur of Rome, with its marble columns and sprawling forums, stood as a testament to their empire's might, but also to their vulnerability to the whims of the gods. For the Renaissance artists, it was a celebration of human ingenuity and the power of storytelling. The rebirth of classical learning sparked a renewed interest in the myths and legends of ancient Greece, and Odysseus's tale became a symbol of the human spirit's indomitable nature. The opulence of the Renaissance courts, with their lavish banquets and intellectual pursuits, provided a backdrop for the retelling of Odysseus's adventures, enriching the narrative with layers of artistic and philosophical depth. And so, the myth of Odysseus endured, a beacon of hope and wisdom, guiding us through the labyrinth of life. From the bustling markets of ancient Greece to the grand salons of the Renaissance, the story of the cunning hero continued to inspire, its echoes resonating through the corridors of time, a testament to the enduring power of myth and the human spirit. Beneath the grand tapestry of gods and monsters, woven with threads of thunder and sea spray, lies the true heart of the myth, a tale of human emotions that echo through the ages, as timeless as the tides. It is a story of jealousy, where the wrath of Poseidon, god of the sea, consumed Odysseus' crew and ship like a tempest, devouring a fragile vessel. The once proud vessel, now a broken hull, groaned and splintered under the god's fury, the cries of the sailors drowned out by the roaring seas. Their spirits, forever bound to the watery grave, haunt the depths, a chorus of the damned singing a mournful dirge. It is a story of pride, where Odysseus' cunning and hubris often led him to underestimate the power of the divine. His mind, a sharp blade, cut through challenges with ease, but it also blinded him to the consequences of his actions. He would stand tall, his voice echoing with confidence, only to find the gods laughing from their thrones on Mount Olympus, their amusement as cold as the stars. His pride, a double-edged sword, cut him deeper than any enemy's blade. It is a story of grief as the hero mourned the loss of his loyal companions. Their faces etched in his memory would surface in the quiet moments, their laughter echoing in the empty spaces of his heart. Eurylochus, his steadfast ally, was gone, his body feeding the fishes, his spirit crying out for vengeance. The sea, once a path home, had become a graveyard, its depths filled with the bones of his crew. It is a story of love, where Penelope's loyalty shone like a beacon in the darkest night. nights. Her face, a vision of hope, would appear to him in his dreams. Her voice, a whisper on the wind, guiding him through the storms. Her love, a constant star in the night sky, guided him home, even as the gods conspired to keep him away. And it is a story of the fear of death as Odysseus faced the trials set before him, knowing that failure meant eternal torment. He would stand at the edge of the abyss, his heart pounding in his chest, the cold breath of Hades whispering his name. Yet he would not falter, for he knew that behind him stood the specter of failure, and before him the faint hope of return. This is the human truth buried inside the divine spectacle, a reflection of our own struggles and triumphs. It is a reminder that even in the face of insurmountable odds, even when the gods themselves stand against us, we endure. We fight with every ounce of strength and cunning we possess, and we hope, for that is the essence of our humanity, the spark that burns brightest in the darkest time. It is the truth inside the myth, the story of Odysseus, the cunning, and the story of us all. Remember the names of those who walked the path of legend, for their stories are etched into the annals of time, whispering through the ages on the winds that sweep across the Aegean. Odysseus, the cunning hero, whose mind was as sharp as the blade of his sword, and whose heart burned with an insatiable desire to return home. He faced the wrath of the gods and the trials of the sea, navigating treacherous waters and confronting monstrous beasts with a courage that was as much a testament to his strength as it was to his wit. The echoes of his journey resonate still, a haunting melody played on the strings of memory. Eurylochus, his trusted companion, who stood by Odysseus through countless perils, his loyal heart was as steadfast as the northern star, guiding them through the darkest nights. Yet, his end came at the hands of the Laestrygonians, those cannibalistic giants who feasted on the flesh of men. His name is a poignant reminder of the price of adventure and the fragility of life. The soft glow of remembrance illuminates his spirit, a beacon in the gloom of forgetfulness. Elpenor, the young and impetuous, whose spirit was as wild and free as the sea itself. His laughter was infectious, his joy a balm to the weary souls of his companions. But his end was tragic, a fall from Circe's roof that sent him plummeting to the underworld. His spirit wanders still, a restless shade, seeking solace in the land of the dead. His name is a lament, a song of sorrow sung by the sirens of memory. Remember the gods who shaped their fates. Zeus, the trickster king, whose thunderous laughter echoed across the heavens as he manipulated the threads of destiny. Athena, the wise protector, whose eyes gleamed with the light of wisdom and whose strategic mind guided Odysseus through the labyrinth of his journey. Poseidon, the wrathful sea god, whose heart burned with a vengeful fire, his trident a symbol of the unstoppable force of the ocean's fury. And Hermes, the messenger, whose swift feet carried tales from the mortal world to the divine, a bridge between the realms of gods and men. The ground trembles beneath the weight of their stories, a rumble of reverence and awe. This story refuses to die because it is about you, about us. It is a testament to our endurance, our hope, and our unyielding spirit. In the grand tapestry of myth and legend, these names are woven into the fabric of our souls, a reminder of the journeys we undertake and the trials we face. So, remember their names: Odysseus, Eurylochus, Elpenor, Zeus, Athena, Poseidon, and Hermes. Let their stories guide you through the darkest nights and brightest days, a compass to navigate the stormy seas of life. For in their tales, we find our own reflection, a mirror held up to the human condition, shining with the light of timeless wisdom and eternal truth.